What's up, guys? Farooqi Bros here, back with another Built Different stream and the first stream of 2022. Today, we're going to be talking all things DCEU, so a little departure from our Marvel coverage in late December with Spider-Man No Way Home. So yesterday on New Year's Day, there's been a lot of rumors on DC and the future of the DCEU as a whole, and I want to start getting into them with you right now. So first, let's talk about the Flash rumors and what they mean for the future of the franchise. So yesterday, chiefly from people like Grace Randolph and a couple of other scoopers on Twitter, there's been a lot of drama and speculation surrounding the Flash movie, starting with where it will leave prior films and future films. So according to Grace, that this is Ben Affleck's final movie in the DCEU for number one. Number two, Henry Cavill will only show up on a TV screen for a brief second. It won't be a new footage, it'll be old recycled footage. And the movie will end, well, not the movie, but the overall goal of this movie and Batgirl will be to establish a brand new DCEU Justice League. And the lineup is more or less going to be replacing Batman and Superman with Supergirl and Batgirl, and then throwing in Shazam into the mix, creating this new Justice League without Superman and Batman, which I found was fascinating in many ways. So we're going to discuss all of that today, and we're going to piecemeal it. So we'll go piece by piece. So Zion, I want to start with you on this front. Like the idea of a new Justice League that doesn't have Superman or Batman, but will have Supergirl and Batgirl. Do you think it feels natural or disjointed because the status of all these actors and a much older Michael Keaton joining the universe reportedly?
It's not a far-fetched of an idea. I think on paper it does sound good. And obviously the characters, we haven't seen them in action yet, but from what we know, it looks like Supergirl and Batgirl will be obviously very good in their roles, will be good characters. But I feel like they're kind of rushing into it because you can follow, like we know they say that, they want to follow the Marvel or the MCU model. And you see that, okay, these original heroes, like the original Avengers or the original Justice League, they have their time in the sun and like they go through their full arc. And then after that, you have your new, younger Avengers, and in this case, the new replacements for the Justice League. They take over and they lead the next era of the universe. For DC, they're not there yet. Just like we've barely even gotten Superman and Batman in a true Justice League format. We've had, obviously, Zack Snyder's Justice League, we have BVS, but it's like we haven't gotten that full taste yet. We haven't gotten that complete through line arc for all these characters. It feels like that's being cut short. Just to speed it up and get to where Marvel is, which is now their next phase with the Young Avengers. And now DC is doing the same thing where they're replacing some like the veteran heroes with some of the newer ones, with Supergirl and Batgirl taking basically the two biggest positions outside of Wonder Woman. Obviously, the two biggest positions, Superman, Batman, those roles. So I think that though it could work, I feel like we have to see more of how they'll do it story-wise and how it's going to look on screen. But I think just story-wise, it feels like they're kind of rushing into something before they've completed the previous thing. And fans will still be like hankering that feeling, where's Superman, where's Batman? Because they're not the same character. It's not like, it's another Bruce Wayne, another Clark Kent. These are completely different characters, completely different stories, completely different personalities. So it's like, yeah, they take those symbolic roles in the Justice League, but you still want to see those original characters of Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne, their stories get completed. And fans will be missing out on that.
Another part of these rumors is comes from a couple of people, more or less, like they have like 50 to 60 to 70% track record. So you always take it with a grain of salt. And one of those rumors is that this movie will very, very clearly erase Man of Steel, BVS, and Justice League, both versions from canon. This was also yesterday thrown out there. And we kind of knew that to some degree, that there'll be a soft reboot process that this movie will be going on. But this is one of those times where you just get reminded that DC and Warner Bros. Want to stay so far away from these original three films, even though supposedly Zod and these other characters are going to be there. The end goal very much so will be that, reportedly again, that these three movies, Man of Steel, BVS, Justice League, both versions, will be erased and in favor of this kind of new universe, which piecemeals. I mean, we're twice gonna be my word of the show, that takes pieces of the old universe and mixes it with these new elements and creates what is going to be the status quo DCEU. And the way Warner Brothers supposedly will see it is that, well, Batman doesn't have to be part of the DCEU because we have Robert Pattinson doing his own trilogy, and Superman will figure it out as we go along. There's no real rush to figure Superman out. Even as early as 2018, 2019, that Superman was going to be shelved. So we kind of knew this, nothing new. But still, it's a sting to those people who I think enjoyed that franchise and those movies and felt like you don't give up so soon. I mean, it's like if MCU saw Iron Man 2 and said, you know what? The fans didn't like Iron Man 2. Time to recast Robert Downey Jr. and let's bring out Ironheart right now. That's the equivalent of what DC is doing, where you never got a chance to see Iron Man go through his full arc, and that's kind of what they did with Superman, in my opinion, where they really shelved the character, Henry Cavill's version in particular, in favor of bringing out a Supergirl, and it's unfortunate for a lot of reasons, but. And Michael Keaton taking over as Ben Affleck, taking over for Ben Affleck is going to be a pretty controversial as well, as we see some people's comments, senior citizen Batman and so forth. But Samir, I'm going to go to you next. What does the erasing these movies mean to you? Do you think it's a bad idea? Do you think it's worthwhile to test what happens? But I don't know. What do you think?
I don't think it's necessarily a good idea. I think when Supergirl was first announced for this movie, I was excited to see her. But if that means that they're gonna get rid of Henry Cavill Superman, then I don't know. It's good and it's bad at the same time. I don't really understand why they would get rid of Henry Cavill Superman, because it's not like Henry Cavill really. It's like Henry Cavill and Warner Brothers basically share the same vision of Superman. They want to see Superman in the same light. So I don't understand getting rid of him completely. Maybe they could just add Supergirl in, but they don't want to go that route because they want to ditch the whole Snyderverse completely. I don't know how. I hope they show how. They show how Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck are gone, but Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa are still there somehow. I don't know how that's going to work, but I guess we'll just see.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's going to be very Flashpoint-esque, where obviously we know Flash is going to probably save his mom, and then that's going to break the universe apart. In my opinion, the way they're going to exit Ben Affleck's Batman is going to be specifically from that moment. They're actually going to, in my opinion, they're going to do a scene where Ben Affleck sits with Ezra Miller and says, I never got a chance to save my mom. If you have the power to do it, then go for it. Kind of like encouraging him to go use his power to save his mom. And by doing that, he gets his kind of exit. And then when he comes back to his universe after saving his mom, everything is in disarray, and whatever the final act will look like will more or less break apart the universe and put it back together. In fact, Gal Gadot just put on her Instagram 2 days ago that saying that in August she was shooting as Wonder Woman. So she put on the Wonder Woman costume or something. We know there was rumors she's going to be in the Shazam movie, but very much so, there's also heavy speculation and almost confirmation at this point that she's in the Flash movie as well, as is Jason Momoa's Aquaman. So in many ways, this movie is going to sort of act like Captain America Civil War, in the sense where a lot of actors are showing up. But it's going to end the movie with a very strong status quo of this is DC going forward, and whether you like it or not, sucks for you. So Umar, I'm gonna jump to you about this. That obviously you're a big fan of Zack Snyder's work, the 3 movies, and fine, even if Zack Snyder's Justice League is not canon towards Warner Brothers, at least Man of Steel and BVS were. How harmful do you think this would be, like erasing these 2 movies and not just kind of sticking to your guns and going with it no matter how much the audience may or may not like something?
I mean, it's still something that's up in the air to see how the general audiences react to it, because Superman and the Batman are the 2 biggest characters, you know what I mean? So you're gonna replace them with Supergirl and Batgirl, and you're gonna change up the dynamic of the whole group. And so it's still yet to be seen how the fans, in terms of the general audience, will react. We know that the general audience does like they do like the Snyderverse to some degree, and there's been people wanting that to return. So you have a fan base that you're again doing the same thing that you did in 2017. You're just gonna do it in a lighter way, where you're gonna alienate those fans. Those fans aren't gonna really go anywhere. And when a movie comes out, I mean, The Flash, like if you look at it as just as a movie, like it's a movie that's not really about the Flash. It's his first big thing. It's his first solo, right? And the movie is just, the whole purpose of the movie is to erase the quote unquote mess from their perspective, which is a mess. And so it's not really, the intention behind the movie isn't the most clear. So they're gonna struggle. It's gonna show in the movie, 100%.
It's unfortunate because
in my,
we're actually
not the greatest, in my opinion.
Right. In my opinion, it's a bit of a mess, I must say, even from a general audience perspective. First of all, on your point for Justice League, how audience took it. I mean, say what you want about how the audiences reacted to BVS, but the fact that Zack Snyder's Justice League has a 94% Rotten Tomatoes audience score this year, it's the second highest superhero movie, only to the 99% that Spider-Man No Way Home had. So this is a movie that the audience loved. So I think it was very premature for, number one, for the DCEU to feel, for Warner Brothers brass to feel like Zack Snyder's way wasn't working, but to go kind of so far as to like erase and move away and push away and bring these new characters, I think from a very simple audience perspective, it's not even smart. You can do a soft reboot, which is what I think would be the smartest way if you don't want to don't want to acknowledge these old movies, but still exist in the same world. But I don't know, it feels like The Flash is doing like this weird discount Flashpoint movie. And again, haven't seen it yet, so we haven't given it a full chance to see what this movie's trying to do. And Andy Muschietti is a talented director. It's worth saying that. And again, to play devil's advocate, Ezra Miller did respond to a fan on Instagram yesterday. Someone commented and asked Ezra, is it true that the Snyderverse is being erased in your movie? And his answer back was, the Zack Snyder's movies could never be erased, no matter who tries. This is what he said back to them on Instagram. But it's worth saying, number one, we know from past movies that actors will kind of say whatever they have to. We just saw with Andrew Garfield how much he denied Spider-Man No Way Home's appearance. But also with this, I think Ezra could be meaning it in a way that, look, the movies do exist. Intangible, I can just grab my Blu-ray, there it is. The movie exists. You could watch it. The movie will not be erased from our brains because another movie is coming out that kind of discounts it. I think that's what Ezra is saying, in my opinion. But there are people who think that Ezra is actually debunking the scooper, so it's worth putting that out there to just even the playing field, that Ezra is saying that no, it's not. So there is that other side of the coin that maybe this movie is gonna just put all the DC universe from the beginning under one roof. So like Michael Keaton is canon and Christopher Reeve is canon and all these things are canon, kind of like what Spider-Man sort of did with Tobey and Andrew's movies. But as we've come to learn, execution is everything. So Zian, I mean, what do you think about that? Do you have any opinions in general about how they'll execute it? What's your like faith level in this project actually doing what it's claiming to do?
Yeah, it really does depends on what their like purpose is. Like Umar said, is it really that they're trying to erase, or are they saying that, okay, this did exist? Maybe what part of Ezra is saying is true, that yeah, the Snyderverse did exist, and now this is branching off into a new multiverse where obviously there's no Superman, no Batman, and now Supergirl and Batgirl are the new like two heads of like those positions. But that doesn't mean that didn't exist. It just means that now that's come to a stop, which it already has, basically, as far as fans are concerned. Like unless they continue on HBO Max, there's probably no chance we can see any more Snyderverse things on a theatrical level. So I think that this movie will just serve as that, yeah, this existed at one point, but now continuing forward, we're starting a new, like, we're taking a tangent to a different level, and just like from Flashpoint onward, it's just a different universe basically, and the other one comes and stops, like a fork in the road basically, where yeah, we came from the Snyderverse, but now going forward, that had nothing to do with it. I guess symbolically, like you said, that yeah, tangibly the movies are there. You can watch them, and symbolically in headcanon, you can say that yeah, the Snyderverse is just now an alternate universe that still happened, but now it's not canon to the current arc or whatever they're planning to do with the DCEU. And execution is everything. It could not work out the way they wanted to, but let's see. Like I said, Andy Muschietti, he is a talented director, and let's see how they handle it.
Sorry, yeah, there was a comment that I'm just gonna put up screen. That Cinema Debate. Have you heard that Grace using an old news article that's not true anymore, and she wants clicks and Mike. I will address that. It's worth being somewhat level-headed and know the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation, unfortunately, is that anyone who's saying the Snyderverse is the main DCU right now is unfortunately not true, because DC really has moved away over the last a few months. And while they will always hint and try to keep things loosely in continuity, but a lot of times it'll feel like a soft reboot, like the Suicide Squad, where they don't mention the other squad really happened. Maybe they'll hint at it here and there, but it's like, we're doing a new thing, new director, new vision, new everything. Just let's just go with it, you know? And while yes, it all did stem from Man of Steel, and a lot of the rumors are that Man of Steel will somewhat be in the same world, though Henry Cavill will not show up again, maybe. BVS and Justice League apparently are being taken off the menu. But then again, we have to see kind of how it opens up. It's confusing, but and that's the problem. The problem is confusion. And just this last year, and we're going to talk about 2022 as some horns are going off. Because in the beginning of 2021, the four of us sat down on this same stream and we said that this is DC's chance, right? We knew that Justice League was about to come out and stuff like that. We said this is DC's chance to take over Marvel. And after the year is finished, Umar, I mean, did they take over Marvel, or did the lead go so far ahead that unfortunately there's no coming back?
Yeah, it's the second option. I mean, the stupid thing is that they don't double down on the stuff that works. Like, and then on top of that, they don't, like, the projects that are coming out right now, right? So the Flash is coming out. The Batman, I don't even consider, I'm not going to put that in the same breath as anything else, because that's like, you know, that's its own thing. But the Flash particularly, like, I don't know how they're going to give general audiences a reason to care about what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really, like, for me, it's not an exciting movie. Like, there's nothing about it that I want to see in the especially everything I've heard so far, right? It's just okay, we're gonna erase everything that happened before, and here's the new wave that we're going on, and just get on it, and it's cool, it's, you know, it's fun. And that's it. There's nothing, like, I don't know, like, there's nothing about it to me that's like exciting. It's just people will be curious to see where they go with it. But I think it has a chance of flopping only because there's no intention, that the intention isn't clear here. Like, what, or the intention is clear, but like the actual vision that they're going with isn't. And it's gonna be confusing. Like, and no one cares about Michael Keaton the way people care about Tobey Maguire or even Andrew Garfield. So, you know what I mean? Like, no one actually cares about him that same way. He shows up on screen. There'll be some fans that are old enough that were around when his stuff was happening that will actually care. And I actually think, like, Ben Affleck is a pretty loved Batman when you think about it. Even though Batman v Superman, for whatever reason, didn't do well, people came out of that movie loving Ben Affleck, wanting more Affleck. You have fans that have been trending Henry Cavill's Superman. He trends every other day. And these are the two people that well, with Affleck it's different. He wants to leave or whatever, but Superman, and Samir made a really good point that, like, Henry Cavill wants to do the Superman, the version of Superman that the studio would want to do. Like, he's not out here saying, like, oh, I want to go and he's going to become a killer because Lois Lane died in his arms. Like, it's not the Superman that he wants to do. He wants to do the Superman that the studio wants to do, but it's a mess. It's just a mess because it's more than just like what meets the eye. You know, it's not just like about the movies. I guess there's like a background.
again, it's worth just playing the other side of the coin that, at the end of 2022, it's very possible that we'll come out with multiple good experiences cinematically where, the Batman, which thank God, in my opinion, it's separate from the DCEU and Matt Reeves can just do his thing. And in my opinion, and we're going to talk about this in a few minutes when I switch topics, but this one seems to be a hot one with the audience, so I'm keeping with it a little longer. The Batman in my opinion, will be the best movie next year. And it'll even better than any other superhero movie that's coming out. Marvel, DC, I don't care what it is. I think the Batman will be just a cut above everything else. So it's funny, we're talking about DC and we're kind of dunking on it a little bit with DCEU, but look at the Batman and every trail and everything that Matt Reeves is saying. This is just music to everyone's ears. And a lot of people say, oh, well, Snyder fans are only like Snyder stuff. I mean, I'm looking at some of the more like normal Snyder fans who are engaged in convos. They're all pro Matt Reeves the Batman, and there's an element of everything coexisting. It's just the mainline DCEU. It just seems so confusing and so kind of out of whack that it's hard to get into it like you get into a Marvel property going in. Now, at the end of the year, it could be very much that Aquaman is good, Shazam might be good. These might be good movies, but then how will The Flash and how will these other movies kind of circumvent that? And will DC be in a better place at the end of 2022 than it was at the end of 2021? And that's the kind of thing, well, it takes some time to see if it gets here or there. Umar, you had a point?
Yeah, I mean, with the Snyderverse too, like the thing is, it's so opposite to what's happening now because the Snyderverse is very intentional. Like he made the films in a very intentional way. Like, kind of where everything is headed, you're following along. There is some parts that he adds that are make people curious about the nightmare sequence and whatnot. So that stuff is like literally the opposite of what is happening now, And I actually think that if Zack Snyder's Justice League came out in theaters in the normal way, even if it wasn't like it probably wouldn't be 4 hours, but if it came out in a normal way, it probably would have done really well because it was pretty much it was a balance between what people wanted, and it's still his main vision, like his main vision. It would have still done well, and it was very different than Batman v Superman in that sense. So I actually think like the fans that want to restore the Snyderverse or whatever they want Warner Brothers to do that, I actually think they don't have they're not as like it's a position that isn't as, I guess, like it's not a zealot position. Like it's a position that makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. But will it happen? Yeah. Probably not.
I think you did mention one good point. I think vision really is everything because when we look at the general audience, right? Obviously, Marvel movies, they have a certain like fun to a certain charm that the audience obviously loves, the general audience. But just from an optics level, that when you go into an MCU film, no matter how run-of-the-mill or assembly line it might seem, it's part of one cohesive vision where everything's going to be tied together at one point or another. But from the DCEU perspective, it's like, yeah, there's so many different things going on. Obviously, the Batman aside, the Batman we want to stay separate, and that's what makes it special. It looks great already. But as far as like Shra said, the mainline DCEU, which the Flash is allegedly about to course correct or whatever, that seems so confusing already from an audience perspective. It's like maybe the first trailer will quell some of those concerns, but just on the level of just seeing these rumors and everything's coming out, it's just, as a fan, it makes you hesitant to think that, do they know what they're even trying to do, what their own plans are for the universe, or are they just trying anything and seeing what's going to stick? And I think that's the fear, and that might even hurt the film when it comes out, to the audience to be like, what are we going for? Like, what are we looking forward to in this film? What is it trying to do? Unlike the MCU, which that, yeah, maybe some movies won't have as big of an impact on the overall universe and some will, but that, okay, it's going to follow a certain guideline or a certain overarching thing where, yeah, it's going to follow, like, it's not going to break free or do anything bad. It's going to be what you expect or better in terms of the overall story. And that's what DCU needs. They need somebody on, like, in that kind of position where, yeah, they know the characters, they know the stories like Feige does for Marvel, but they're leading where the universe goes. And like Umar said, the Snyderverse, though, yeah, it had mixed reactions from critics and audiences, at least it had one vision, one cohesive vision where it knew from beginning to end where they wanted to go, and then they put different pieces in there together to get to that point. DCU, if they want to succeed going forward, they desperately need that. And the Flash, it doesn't necessarily seem like they have that yet.
And I know there's an argument saying that, well, No Way Home is doing all these things and bringing old characters back. Well, then how come when DC does it, it's a big issue? Well, I'll explain why it's an issue, right? The four of us, we're actually not a big fan of Tom Holland's movies. Homecoming, well, I like Homecoming, but Far From Home in particular, we all four of us kind of together agree it was just not great. Now, even we, being fans of Tom Holland, wouldn't have liked it if at the end of No Way Home, Tom Holland gets erased and Tobey Maguire, even though he's our favorite Spider-Man, well, he's mine, takes over and becomes the new Spider-Man of the MCU. I don't think that's a good idea. Even I wouldn't want that. Like, as someone who's a fan of Tobey Maguire, I wouldn't want the end of the movie to erase Tom Holland and be like, oh, you don't like Tom Holland? Let me bring back the guy you used to like. I want Tobey Maguire to have actually a long, interesting arc that in the future, and he might just have one, including alongside Andrew Garfield, but I didn't want him to replace Tom Holland as the main Spider-Man. So that's the main thing where the difference between Celebration and almost like a spiteful reboot. That's where I'm at with between The Flash and No Way Home. Both movies which are multiverse, both movies which quote unquote are supposed to celebrate the whole franchise of DC's from the beginning, or Marvel in terms of Spider-Man. But just the way Spider-Man did it was beautiful. And the way, as of right now, of course, we have to see it to believe it. As of right now, The Flash seems like it's going to be doing things almost in a hurtful way. And that's not even bringing up behind the scenes stuff. It's just things seem not as wholesome as they were with bringing the three Spider-Men together and watching them hug each other. It's not going to be that way with Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck. It's not because of all the behind the scenes drama.
Again, no one, the main audience that's going to go watch these movies, they don't care about Michael Keaton. They don't. It's as simple as that. Michael Keaton is not Tobey Maguire. He's literally not. Like, he's literally not. No one cares about him in that way. So it's not going to have, even if somehow they worked and stuff, like, it's not going to be, no one's going to react that way because it's not that way. Like, there is no way to react in that way. Maybe someone that's older that watches movies, they'll feel some type of way about it, but it's not going to be like that.
Yeah, some people actually do want it in hindsight, as I know one wants it. But also, Dan the Man, actually, if I misspoke and I said we're not fans of No Way Home, I meant we're not fans of Far From Home. No Way Home, as you can see from our previous videos, we all pretty much unanimously agree is probably one of the best, if not the best, MCU movie thus far. So big ups on that, to use Samir's word. And Multiverse of Madness will do the same thing. Yeah, so, and we look at Multiverse of Madness next year, you can compare that to The Flash, because fine, let's take No Way Home out of the equation. Next year's big multiverse battle is going to be Doctor Strange versus The Flash, and who does it better? So, Samir, between the two, who's going to do it better? Doctor Strange 2 or The Flash?
I mean, I need to say Doctor Strange, of course. I think Marvel knows how to do the multiverse thing now. I'm gonna go back to Far From Home now. I mean, No Way Home, right? The thing about No Way Home is, even though they brought the previous characters back, it didn't overshadow the story too much, which I think is going to be a problem with The Flash. I think because they're trying to forcefully intertwine everything from before and change everything that's going to happen in the future, I think it's going to have a big impact on the story as a whole. I don't think it's going to be a Flash story that much, but we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah. And all I want is for The Flash. It's been through 50 different directors. I'm exaggerating, obviously. It's been through like 4 or 5 different directors, 4 or 5 different writers. Honestly, I think the Rick Famuyiwa version, we see how incredible work he's doing directing multiple episodes of Mandalorian season 2, that he really had the chops to take on a big project with Flash. I'm actually unfortunate that he didn't get a chance to do it, because it would have been very much just contained Flash and Cyborg movie. I think would have been great. But instead, we're getting something a little different, and how it's going to play to the fans, it remains to be seen. We're going to see next year. But we kind of gave you guys the full picture. Here's what the Scoopers are saying. They're saying that the entire Snyderverse is getting erased. Ezra Miller responds to a fan saying that no, the Snyderverse cannot be replaced, but we don't know if that's in what form or fashion he's saying it. And everything from official sources like the Hollywood Reporter, Boris Kidd, all your big names, they've said very clearly Michael Keaton is the new Batman of the universe. So, and we know for a fact, it's been already confirmed. We talked about this last week. Michael Keaton is officially this universe's Batgirl mentor, so there is no Ben Affleck mentoring Batgirl. It's going to be Michael Keaton kind of doing a pseudo Batman Beyond plot, which is also unfortunate, because I feel like if you had Keaton, at least do Batman Beyond. Like, This is a basic like home run. Like do Batman Beyond. You have old Batman, but instead they're gonna kind of do a Batman Beyond plot with Batgirl, reportedly. So I don't know. We're gonna see how this goes. But will the DCU work in 2022? That's the last question I'm gonna ask each of you guys. The slate is quite big. I'm gonna pull it up again. I think I have a photo. Might be a little outdated, but I have a photo. Please discount the bottom row, but let's look at this top row of what's confirmed this year. The Batman, Black Adam, The Flash, Aquaman 2, and Shazam. Some of these dates actually have moved. This is an old photo, but these are the 5 films. We're getting 5 DC films in theaters this year. Will DCEU work? Oh, unless Shazam got moved. Did Shazam get moved 2023? Yeah, so Shazam got moved, but we have 4: Batman, Black Adam, Flash, and Aquaman, and Batgirl, which is not has a date, so it really is 5. Will the DCEU work at the end of 2022? And when the 4 of us are sitting here and talking about it, will we say they had a successful year? Sam, you going first?
I think we'll give them credit for obviously trying a lot of new things, and they have a lot of good things at the plate. But like we said ad nauseum, it's all about execution. Let's see if they can actually do it right, and by the end of the year, like you're looking at the future, the outlook of the DCU, like there's so much good content. Now let's see where they go from here. It all depends on how they execute.
Umar, what about you? Is it going to work?
No, not really. I don't think so. I think the DCU aside, I think the Batman will be really good, but then I think we'll get a bunch of films that are pretty, like, they'll be forgettable, like similar to how some of the MCU films are forgettable. And I think the only reason we won't forget The Flash is because it'll be bad enough not to forget. Like, I think it'll be one for the ages. We'll just know that, this was a mistake.
No, I'm muted. Samir, what about you? What do you think?
Well, I think Black Adam looks good so far. I was hoping for that Henry Cavill cameo, but I guess not. And Aquaman 2, we haven't really seen much of it. We've seen the suit, we've seen the title, and I think that has potential. So I think overall it could be successful. I'm not really counting the Batman. It's not DCEU, but the Batman's probably going to be the best movie of the year. So it could be a win for the DC for DC as a whole at the end. Maybe a win for the DCEU.
Yeah, I just want to add on one last point to mind that, I didn't mention the Batman either, but because like Samir said, it's not part of DCU, but the Batman is in a separate class of its own. I think, in my opinion, it will be the best superhero movie of all time. So it's like you have one diamond, like A+ movie, and the rest would be like mid-tier to C. I think that averages to like a B year. So I think that even if they drop a little bit in some of their projects, the year will be carried by the Batman, which will be one of their best ever, or in my opinion, the best superhero film of all time.
I'm somewhere in between Zion. Actually, I have an opinion that's all 3 years kind of, and it's like an amalgamation. I think some will work, some won't, frankly. I think, like all of us agree, the Batman will work. I think, and that's because you have a visionary director in Matt Reeves where you can trust, and you know he's going to do some great stuff with a great cast. I think legacy franchises, so now I'm talking about Aquaman and Shazam in particular, will be serviceable. I think, like Umar, they might end up being a little forgettable, but I think they will be serviceable. And I hope that at least it'll be a fun experience to enjoy. But I'm going into it with the same expectation that I went into like a Shang-Chi or a Black Widow, where you go in and then you see how it goes, and it might be very good. Like Shang-Chi is one of the better superhero movies of 2021, for example. But in the end, is it as memorable as No Way Home? Of course not. So it's like one of those things where it's like on and off. And then The Flash is going to be either mid or a dumpster fire. It's one of these two. Like, we gotta see how it goes. But I'm not looking forward to The Flash personally. It's just from even a critic standpoint, as someone who looks at it from a filmmaking and critic standpoint, nothing that we've seen either from official news, like keep coming back storytelling decisions, have personally resonated with me. Even that first look trailer, which we talked about DC fandom, from the costumes to the general feel, it just doesn't blend with my personal taste. So I'm not excited for The Flash, but like I said, for every bad there is that good of the Batman. So DC will have, I think, an okay year. I think they're going to do quite well. 5 movies in 1 year is a big slate. It's a big year for them coming up this year, so I'm excited to see what they do. But you never know what might happen mid-year. So mid-year, there's a Discovery merger. So you never know what kind of decisions David Zaslav will make with that crew. As for people who are wondering about the Snyderverse, wondering, is there any hope? Is there anything to look forward to? The only thing officially that you can take any notice from is Zack is working on Rebel Moon. He's working on the future of Army of the Dead. There's a lot of stuff he's doing there. It's going to take a few years of his time. Even if in 2022, David Zaslav says, we want to do the Snyderverse, it'll still be a couple of more years from there before they shoot and produce and make a movie like Justice League 2. So the chances are not like the highest, but there's always hope and there's always a chance that when they take over, they will look at the slate and be like, hey, guess what? Let's put in $200 million and make an HBO Max series for Justice League, which I think if they went the series route the first time, actually might have actually helped the case. But that's where my take is on this. We appreciate all you guys jumping in on the DC stuff. It was a good topic. But as we wrap up, I want to hit a couple of topics more because our first stream of 2022, but I also want to wrap up 2021 as we didn't do a wrap-up stream this week. Simple question, simple prompt. What was the best movie of 2021? And then what's the best superhero movie of 2021? And maybe the answer is the same for both. So that's the question. Very simple. If you have a couple of more like dark horses or things you want to bring up, you're more than welcome to. But the main prompt is, what was, in your opinion, the best movie? Best and favorite are two different things. So you can think about that as well. So these are the kind of options I want to throw out there. And you know what, Samir, I'm starting with you on this one. So why don't you go on the hot seat? Tell me what's the best superhero movie of 2021 and the best movie of 2021.
I'll start with the best movie of 2021, which is Dune, of course. I called it like months ago, just want to point that out. It's a Dune, by far, I think. And the best superhero movie of 2021, sorry. I'll go with Spider-Man No Way Home.
Zion, what about you?
Maybe Eternals. Who knows?
Whoa.
Just playing.
All right, he's playing. All right, Zion.
All right, so I agree that the best movie is obviously Dune, and this is the 4K Blu-ray. Thank you, WB, for sending this. This will be releasing on January 11th, the 4K Blu-ray of Dune. This is obviously the best movie of the year, one of the best movies of all time. I think my favorite, like you said, best and favorite superhero movie are different. I think just in terms of the scale, it's hard to say, but in my opinion, just from the gut feeling, just watchability, what was having the reaction I had to the movie, I think Spider-Man is number one for me. Though Zack Snyder Justice is also a 5-star film in my opinion, but I think just in terms of that emotional gut reaction of watching the 3 Spider-Man on screen at once, it just brought so much nostalgia and everything back. I think that for me personally, Spider-Man will be the best superhero movie of the year.
Umar, where do you stand on this? So far, the two of the bros are on the same page. Dune is the best movie and No Way Home's best superhero movie. Are you gonna break this? No,
I'm not actually. That's my take as well. Dune was the best film made last year. Well, yeah, and the same thing. Spider-Man No Way Home. Just the 3 Spider-Man doing their thing, just swinging, doing crazy stuff, hugging. Also, the storyline is just amazing. But yeah, so that would have to be my case as well. Obviously. If we were to look at I think Zack Snyder Justice League is obviously a better made, technically well made movie. And it also, it's something we waited for, it's something we fought for, so that had its own fun. I think with knowing kind of what was gonna happen, with the exception of a few scenes that he added in at the last second. I think that made it so that it wasn't the same, thing as it didn't have the same, I guess, playing field as all the other movies that came out. And so I do think that if in a world where you have Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield coming back, it still wouldn't have kind of touched that, even if it was on the same playing field. But they were, like John said, it's still an amazing movie. But I would have to.
It's worth saying about No Way Home because we you mute yourself 1 second, John. Yeah, so I think it's an echo. Is there an echo? All right. So a point about No Way Home that I think is worth making is that we knew Toby and Andrew are coming this movie before we watched it, but I think we should give them some credit on execution as well, because they could have dropped the ball. We always said, are they going to stick the landing? Is John Watts going to redeem himself after Far From Home? They did do all of that. So it's worth saying execution-wise, they did Toby and Andrew justice, and they weren't just glorified cameos where they showed for 1 second in the final battle. They had almost arcs of their own, mini arcs of their own playing in this movie, which I think was absolutely great. What's her name? Amy Pascal did say in an interview recently, I think with our friend Eric Davis, that Toby and Andrew both had lots of story input in the script, and Toby specifically told them that do not add too much information about what happened to me after Spider-Man 3. So he wanted to keep it very open-ended about his journey between 3 and potentially a 4 or a future sequel or a future spin-off. Whereas Andrew was very much involved and be like, hey, it was Andrew's idea. And we know how thoughtful he is about Spider-Man from our interview with him. It was Andrew's idea to say, oh, yeah, he went down a dark place, and why don't you explore that he went down this one avenue, which is leading him in a place where he doesn't want Tom Spider-Man to go. That's his input into Spider-Man. So that's great where you listen to your actors and you have this collaboration. Again, we just talked about the DCU, but I feel like if they listened to the actors the same way and had that collaboration, it would be so much better. But so I would say for me, this would be boring because all 4 of us agree then, but I think Dune is the best movie of this year. Just Denis Villeneuve's directing is a cut above everyone else's, and Hans Zimmer's score, again, beautiful, acting across the board, great, and what it's setting up in terms of a franchise, I think it's just really special. So Dune for me is number 1, and then for superhero movies, best made, I think Justice League was technically a better made movie. I think Fabian Wagner and Zack Snyder and Junkie XL just combined to create a better movie. I think Spider-Man No Way Home is the better experience, and Spider-Man No Way Home has better performances. So I think Tom Holland, in my opinion, gave a better performance than anyone in Justice League. Maybe outside of like Ray Fisher's the one who really led that movie. So I would say in Justice League, Ray Fisher was the best. And No Way Home, Tom Holland was the best. But when you have guys like Toby and Andrew showing up, it just feels like I have to give that experience to No Way Home. So I'm actually going to say the best superhero movie of 2021 is also Spider-Man No Way Home. And I think Claire, part of our team, she just said that part of No Way Home's goodness was the hype and experiencing it. For Justice League, we kind of knew what would happen. And that's also a point where Zach was dropping frame by frame of so many scenes. We came in, we knew beat for beat what we're seeing. It just, let's enjoy the experience now. So that's kind of where we are. We have, so we talked about that. Was there any other topic that you had, Zion?
What are we looking forward to next year?
Okay, yeah, let me. I like how while I'm quiet, everyone's quiet too. So no one could like just let us there. Okay, so best movie of 2022. We kind of already talked about this, but I'll go through quickly around the room one more time. Is there any dark horses? Because this is the time. Samir, I'm looking at you particularly because you were right about Dune, but you were wrong about Eternals. And then I'll like you always call me up for being wrong about Venom. So does anyone have a dark horse this year? Is there anyone who feels like 2022 there could be this movie that like could be surprising and pulls away and does something special? Anyone have anything? Zian, since you brought this topic up, do you have any like dark horse movie?
The only thing that I have in mind, is Snyderverse. I think it's flying under the radar a little bit because of the Multiverse of Madness hype that's coming up. But I think it'll be the second best right after Batman. I don't think anything is going to surpass the Batman. Really, I don't think there's any dark horse to pass it. I think it'll be the best movie.
Zian, what about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think that the Batman is just a cut above the rest. Non-Trans just super, as an echo, but non-Trans just superhero films, but films in general. We know Matt Reeves, he creates these amazing films we've seen from the Apes trilogy and his other work. So it's like the Batman is just going to be a cut above the rest. Like we said, Spider-Verse is surprisingly under the radar for a lot of people. You don't see a lot of social media hype about it. After obviously the trailer, that was a big thing, but like now it's being overshadowed by Multiverse of Madness and other things. But I think even then, it can go. The highest it can go, in my opinion, is number 2. The Batman will be the best movie of the year, superhero or otherwise.
Umar, what's your pick for the best movie of 2022?
The Batman. There's not much else to say. I mean, we all saw the trailer. It looks
Right.
same.
I was actually,
I think Strange. I think Strange could possibly provide a better experience. Maybe, who knows? I think if they did something crazy with Hugh Jackman or something like that, you know, like if they keep pulling off some crazy crap with the multiverse model, which they easily might, because Marvel's pretty, you know, organizationally they're pretty straightforward. So, if they're able to pull something off like that, I think it would be very tough to put anything above the Batman, just because you can tell from the trailers that it is definitely going to be a cut above the rest. Cinematically, like you said, it's going to be a masterpiece. But I think similar to No Way Home, there's a chance that Doctor Strange, if they do pull off something wild, there's a chance that they could have a better movie going experience. And I think that plays a huge role too, right? Like if the Batman comes out and let's say the pandemic is still kind of doing its thing, like I know in Canada it's been more crazy. They're looking at like shutting stuff down. So I think that plays a huge role. I think you know, opening day for the Batman is probably going to be insane, but also Doctor Strange is also going to be something crazy. So so it might be the case that the Batman becomes like the best movie that's coming out, but technically, but Doctor Strange might have the better experience. Who knows?
right. I'm actually in a similar boat to you guys. I actually pulled up the list, but I couldn't find like all the movies. Hard to keep track of everything, but according to IMDb, like these are the most anticipated, and Fandango, these are the most anticipated movies next year. You know, Wakanda Forever, obviously Black Panther sequel, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I agree with Samir, has gone under the radar, and don't be surprised if a lot of the names you saw in No Way Home appear in Spider-Verse in animated form. Don't be surprised by that. So Avatar, someone in the comments said, don't be surprised if Avatar might be a surprise. So I don't know if John's shaking his head. Avatar was a product of its time. You never know if something could happen. It might be pretty good.
Yeah, it was good technically, but it was so boring. I mean, in my opinion, it was boring. Technically, it was obviously ahead of its time when it came out, but I think now it's so far removed that who in the audience even cares? And like he has like 4 or 5 sequels coming out. Like, what is his plans? I kept thinking there has to be a Dark Horse movie to talk about. I have 2 Dark Horse movies now. These are 2 that might be better than what they seem. Okay, number 1, I'll say it. I'll go on the record now, so you can roast me at the end of this year. I think Secrets of Dumbledore might work. You never know. You never know. Okay, it might work. Okay, and the second movie I think that could work is Jurassic World Dominion. I think, and Jurassic World has been kind of bad in my opinion compared to Jurassic Park. Even Jurassic Park's kind of bad outside of the first one. But I think maybe Jurassic World Dominion, which is kind of like the end game of Jurassic Park, could be pretty good. I don't know. So of these 2 movies, do any of you guys can jump on the boat with me? There's 1 seat on the boat. Either Secrets of Dumbledore.
You missed on both of these, but maybe actually, you know what? Maybe Secrets of Dumbledore. I'll give it to you. Maybe.
I agree that
it'll be above mid.
I agree that Secrets of Dumbledore will be the best of the Fantastic Beasts trilogy. It will be the No Way Home to Spider-Man to the Homecoming trilogy.
So I'm saying Jurassic World could be the No Way Home to the Jurassic World trilogy.
They also had that guy for one scene, Dr. Malcolm, whatever. I think that's his name, and obviously the other guy. I forgot his name too. The guy who played Hugo Strange in Gotham, you know, he's like the scientist that he came back to.
Yeah, but
they handed like garbage. So like, who cares who else they bring back?
Umar, you out of all of us should care about what happens to Aurelius Dumbledore. So you should be on the bandwagon with me.
Aurelius,
join the bandwagon. Come on. You think?
I mean,
say Secrets of Dumbledore will be good. We can all roast each other later.
You want the hyperbole?
Say the hyperbole.
Is that what you're asking for?
Yeah.
Dumbledore does. It does look pretty good. I mean, let's call it spade a spade. The trailer doesn't look half bad. Like the trailer actually looks pretty good. But then again, you know, we've seen good trailers before, and it hasn't worked out in real life. So, yeah, I don't know what to say about that. I think honestly, it's long overdue for a good, you know, a good Harry Potter world film. Because Fantastic Beasts, as you said, just missed the mark on a lot of things. I want to see them do. I want to see Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, just like a version of that, to bring everyone back, pay them all.
I was gonna say on this point that they just had the New Year's just yesterday, they released the HBO Max special where they brought all the actors back and they discussed like how important the franchise was to them. There is some like not a rumor, but it's more like speculation that you wouldn't bring all these guys back for no reason. I think they're trying to gauge how much the audience cares. And let's be honest, we just saw Toby come back and Andrew come back. You want to know who has like a Toby level impact? It's gonna be you bring Daniel Radcliffe back as Harry Potter for anything, you know. So people are gonna cheer, people are gonna stand up, and no one's dumb. I know some studios are dumb, but these studios, they see some things, right? They saw that in a pandemic, Spider-Man No Way Home made $1 billion in like 5 days. Okay, why did it make $1 billion? Yes, the movie was good, but there's a lot of nostalgia pandering. They did a very good job. Some people do a very bad job doing it, and maybe Cursed Child will do a bad job doing it. But they know that this sells now, you know, and this is why this goes back to the old topic, because Keaton, I get it. For those of you guys who are Keaton fans, more power to you. But that's from the 80s and the late 90s, early 90s. People have aged out. Those people are in their 50s now. They're not watching these movies at the same level of intensity that the audience wants. And this is a misnomer about how people calculate audiences. These studios, they don't really care about senior citizens. They don't care about old people watching their movies that much, because they know if the old people watch it, they'll bring their families, they'll bring their kids, they'll watch it. They care about our age and then younger than our age, like Samir's age kind of, and even younger than that, because those are the people who are not only going to watch the movie, they're going to spend extra money to buy the shirts, the t-shirts, the toys, the Blu-rays, this, and then be invested in social media to push the film. It's why a lot of the movies that are put for older audiences, they don't do as well, because there's no social media push. So they're aiming at a young audience, make no mistake. And the people who grew up with Harry Potter are now in their 20s, if not late 20s, early 30s. You want to capitalize on this market because they have money to spend. That's why Tobey Maguire in New York City, people got up to cheer. Okay, they were not sitting; they were standing up to cheer, because you reached into their childhood and brought something back. It's why when Obi-Wan and Anakin reunite and fight each other this year at Star Wars, we talk about TV, but that's also happening this year. We're going to be very excited about that because it's catering to us, and Warner Brothers would be remiss rather to not at least offer these actors to come back for something, you know, and do. If not Cursed Child, do something original. But I do think they should come back in some.
I'd actually be more excited for something original. Just bring them back and do another story. It would be a mistake to not. Yeah, it would be a big mistake to not try to do something.
And people are saying Wolverine's cameo in Doctor Strange, if Hugh Jackman indeed does show up, which there is some rumors that some of these reshoots are to bring in some of these old actors. This guy, Peace Walker, claims to be bigger than Tobey Maguire. I don't know if he's bigger, but definitely after Logan and seeing his death, I think seeing him come back in any form fashion will get people cheering. It won't be Tobey's level of cheering, but it will get people cheering. Is 2022 the year of gimmicks? Maybe, but these days gimmick is selling for some reason. I don't know. All right, I think that's it. Unless you guys have anything else you want to talk about, I think I have nothing in my notes. I have no funny pictures or anything to discuss. So we're out of here. But yeah, so this is the first stream of 2022. If you are new to the channel, we really appreciate you guys just subscribing, hitting a like. I think they removed dislikes from YouTube now, so actually the power of leaving a like is bigger now than it was before. So anything you guys can do for us if you're enjoying this kind of content will definitely mean a lot. And we appreciate you guys joining in on the debate and being part of these discussions. We definitely want to keep growing this year with more interviews, more coverage, and all types of bigger coverage, not just superhero, but overall cinema. So we hope you guys join us for the journey this year. From myself, from Zayan, from Umar, and from Samir, we're the Farooqi Brothers, and we'll see you next time.